guys, welcome to another episode of Tea from the Galaxy, a thirst-quenching podcast for the girls, gays, theys, and astrology baes, where we talk about anything and everything through an astrological lens. So today's episode is about what the fuck is happening in this country and around the world. It doesn't feel right for me to have a platform where I get up and I talk about real life shit if I don't talk about the real life shit. Everything that's been happening and going on around the country has been weighing so heavy on my heart and my mind. It is kind of paralyzing a little bit. I have had to literally force myself to put my phone down and schedule social media breaks from looking at my phone and scrolling on social media, because every time I do so, I'm just in such a doom and gloom type of headspace. Also knowing how corrupt the world and this country specifically is can make anyone go crazy. Like, honestly, the past week I have been debating if I even want to continue living in this country. That's not even an exaggeration. I think about not only myself, but I think about my future children. Although I don't have children, I am always future focused, and my future family, everything that I do in this present moment is for my future family, for my future children. I am healing myself in the present day so my children can have a healed mother. I mean, every kid is going to have some type of trauma. That's inevitable. But I don't want my unhealed trauma to be a domino effect into my offspring. You know, if anything, I want to birth children who go out into the world and spread love and change. Looking at this country, I'm like, do I want to raise children in this country? When you think about where our tax dollars are being spent, where they're going towards funding a literal genocide, I can't even think about it anymore. I'm angry and I'm ashamed to live in this country. And I hate to say that because I do love living here. This is my home. You know, my grandparents left Italy for a better life to come here. And when I view my grandparents, I literally view them as accomplishing the American dream. I don't think this country is full of shit. I think there's a lot of opportunities here. I love how diverse it is. I think we're losing the plot of what the fuck this country is supposed to be about. I love the diversity in this country. I love that when you go to each corner of this country, it's freaking different. I live all the way in South Florida. Then if you go to, California, it's different. Up to Oregon, it's so different. And then you go to the Midwest, it's so different. And then I'm from Jersey, it's so different. And then up in Maine, it's so different. Like, you have the mountains, the beach, the countryside, the city. Like, you have everything here. And I love it. I do love this country, but what the actual fuck? I am so ashamed. I am so angry at this country. This country is failing us. I'm also angry that this country is continuously poisoning us. That's another thing that I'm like, do I want to raise a family here? Because the food that they're feeding us is shit. Everything is shit. They want to keep us sick. They just want us to fund big pharma. They don't want to cure us. They want to just put a Band-Aid on top of everything. And I don't like that. Very disappointed that our tax dollars are going to fund a fucking genocide. I posted a video back in 2023 when this genocide first started, and I was like, I remember being a kid and growing up in social studies and, learning about the Holocaust and everything. And I remember sitting and reflecting and being like, okay, if I was living during this time, if I was like an adult during this time, I would be on the side of like helping the Jewish people, helping the Jews and being there for them and housing them. And even if it was against the law, like just knowing that morally it's wrong. There's like no amount of propaganda. There's no amount of brainwashing that could come about me for anyone to turn around and be like, we need to kill a certain group of people just because of X, Y, and Z. Because morally, intuitively, innately, you should know that it is just wrong. There's no amount of propaganda that could have convinced me otherwise. I remember being a kid and thinking like that. Like, morally, I know that would be wrong. I would want to help these people, right? So now flash forward, fucking 2023. This is when I released the video. I'm like, we have to talk about this. This is morally wrong. This genocide is happening. Innocent people are being killed, not because of what they're doing. It's because of the government is fighting. Their government officials are fighting over whatever the fuck. That's a whole nother rabbit hole, right? I know there's jokes going around and being like, how about the higher ups? We put them in a room and they throw some hands and they fight, okay? Why are the innocent civilians like the ones that are taking the beating for everything that is going on with the people in power, you know? That's fucked up. You should just go in the room and fucking fight like old school. Fast forward 2 years later, here we are in 2025, and I am in the same stance that we have to continue talking about this. It's actually a little scarier now because now we're being shown that our amendment of freedom of speech isn't so free. And what's scary is they're using people as examples, higher up people with platforms as examples as to how our freedom of speech isn't so free. And yeah, we have freedom of speech, but not that. Don't say that. Because look, we're going to shoot Charlie Kirk and we're going to fire Jimmy Kimmel. They're using these people as examples for us, regular civilians, people in America, and to see, oh, if it's happening to them, then it's definitely going to happen to me. Let me just keep my mouth shut. And, you know, as someone with the Leo Mercury in the 10th house, I will never keep my mouth shut. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to continue talking about this. I don't care. My thoughts, I want my thoughts to be heard. Even if this reaches 10, 20 people, if it reaches more than that, whatever. It needs to be talked about. And this is how we're going to create change. By continue talking about it, spreading information, spreading our story, spreading awareness, coming together. We need to come together. What they want right now, the elite, the top 1%, the evil people in power, they want to keep us divided. I've been saying it is a spiritual war, and not because it is Christian versus Jews, Christians versus Muslims, one religion versus another religion. It is the top 1% who are Satanist and everybody else. That is the spiritual war that's happening right now. It is the evil people who are demons in disguise and the devil in disguise versus everybody else. We need to open our eyes. We need to wake the fuck up. All right. They want to keep us divided. We are puppets. If we're fighting down here, there's more that they can move up there. That's exactly what they want. They're planting these seeds and they're keeping us divided, because if we're so focused on how different we are, then we're being distracted at the evil that's actually happening. So let's talk about what happened on September 10th. Okay, so the shooting of Charlie Kirk. There's also a school shooting that happened that day as well. There's too many shootings that are happening. This is another reason that I'm scared to live in this country and raise a family here. I do not want, we are losing the fucking plot, man. We are losing it. The murder of Charlie Kirk was very fucking disturbing. I mean, I saw the video. The dude was sniped in his jugular mid-sentence. Boom. Through crowds of people. That was a terrible way to die. I'm not celebrating his death. Am I grieving his death? No. I did not agree with a lot of the things, most of the things this man stood for. I think he spread a lot of hatred in disguise of Christianity. I think he had a big mouth and he threw a couple scriptures here and there and people ate it the fuck up. All right. Being the spiritual person that I am, if you truly are a spiritual person, whatever you believe in, spiritual, higher power, whatever, you do not judge and hate, okay? That is why I have negative opinions about Charlie Kirk, because he was spreading messages of division in disguise of Christianity. That is not what Christianity is about. Jesus is a loving being. Jesus is forgiving. I'm a believer that God knows who is genuinely a good person and who genuinely is not. And the good people will always be forgiven, and the evil people will be dealt with. I grew up Catholic. I grew up going to Sunday school. I remember being a little kid and hating going to Sunday school. You can ask my parents. I would scream, kick, and cry, "Don't bring me there," because I felt like it was stupid. I don't think the church is stupid. I don't think the religion or the spirituality aspect is stupid. The older that I got, the more that I actually was intrigued by the readings in the Bible and the teachings of Jesus and God and just religion in general. But I remember even as a kid thinking it is stupid. I do not need to go to a church every single week to be taught how to be a good person. I am innately a good person. All right? And that is just how I feel. If you are innately a good person, you do not move with judgment. You do not move with hatred. You are open-minded. So I think the plot just got lost. I don't think Charlie Kirk was a bad person. I think he only knows what he knows, his one perspective of life. He was spreading word of what he was taught through a very skewed view of Christianity, because that's all that he knows. I think he had a big mouth that led him to create a big platform. People were eating his ass and sucking his dick. I think he liked it. And he got a big head about it. There are some things that I find of Charlie Kirk where I was like, okay, like not super bad of a person. And then there are just some things where I was like, oh my God, this guy is like outwardly racist, outwardly homophobic, just outwardly a hater. And this is a fucking amendment. Church and state should remain separate. I don't like how he was mixing his religious views into politics and trying to spread movements of why he thinks certain things in politics should go down because of his religious views. We need to keep that separate. Is the plot fucking lost? This is the melting pot, right? This country is a melting pot. This is the most diverse country. You have people of all religions in this country. Why is Christianity like your favorite? And I believe in God, all right? I that's why I still rock a cross around my neck. I have a crystal and a cross. I feel like it coincides with a lot that I believe in. That's why I wear this. I'm not a non-believer. I love religion. I love spirituality. I love any type of belief that a person has that makes them want to be a better person, that helps their mental health, that helps spread positivity. That is what I'm for. I don't care what you believe in. Now, I have my own beliefs. I can offer my beliefs. I am not going to force my thoughts down people's throat and bring it into politics. It's just like, it blows my mind. It is completely two separate things, and I don't like how he was mixing the two. A little fact for you guys. The Bible has been translated to a modern English translation by the Revised Standard Version, the RSV. The New Testament was published in 1946, and the complete Bible was published in 1952. According to Christianity.com, the Bible has been translated to 3,350 languages. So the Bible was translated into modern English, and it was published in 1952, and the New Testament was published in 1946. Wow. I wonder how they translated the Bible to sound during those times. Like, are we being fucking for real right now? Like, and I'm not saying don't believe in the Bible, but I'm saying you need to get down to the nitty gritty of what the Bible actually truly meant. There's some things that I read in the Bible that I'm just like, yo, are you serious? Like, this is what you think God was writing about? This is what you think God said? Are you joking? Like, what the actual fuck is going on? I think we need to start bringing back common sense into society. And this isn't even a hate on spirituality and religion. This is just a hate on people lacking common sense and education. Like, really, that's truly what it is. I'm going to have and hold empathy for a lot of people because a lot of people only have one perspective on life. If you grew up in one certain way in your own bubble, with your family also growing up the same way, teaching you, throwing things down your throat, in your mind, brainwashing you, you were brought up in one certain way, in one light, in one community. That's all you know. That's all you see. yeah, that's all you're going to believe. Unless you have some type of passion or curiosity to look outward, you're not going to. You're going to think that your truth is the truth. And that is just wrong. And that is why I can hold empathy for someone like Charlie Kirk, because I think that is how he was moving, you know? And towards the end of his life, according to one of his best friends, Candace Owens, he was actually having some type of spiritual awakening, and he was thinking about moving into Catholicism more. So someone who had such a big fucking mouth of spreading all his beliefs, da 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 da. He actually was such a big MAGA supporter, pro-Trump. He didn't give a fuck about what was happening in Gaza, to children and women dying. Towards the end of his life, he started having an awakening to everything that was happening in Israel, the killings and the genocide of Gaza and the Palestinians. He was waking up to it. And this is why he was shot and killed. Not because he was Christian and not because of his views. It was because he was starting to see too much. And the guy has a big mouth. He has a lot of influence. They were scared that he was going to start opening everybody else's eyes to what the fuck is actually happening, and they killed him for it. Not because he was Christian and not because he was a believer of God. Let's get that through your fucking head. Everyone needs to open up to this. And I'm glad that Candace Owens is actually opening everyone's mind to this. Not the biggest fan of Candace Owens, okay? I never thought she was a girl's girl. I also thought that she combined too much church and state all together. Whatever. She is also opening her eyes to everything that is happening, and she's spreading word about it. Her friend got shot in the neck and killed. She's riding for it. That is someone I can relate to, because I would be doing the same thing. All right. I would be doing the same thing for my best friend. She's getting down to the bottom of it. She doesn't believe that the storyline of how he got killed is how he got killed, because it is not making sense, and it is not making sense. I am proud that she isn't holding fear of using her voice. She's spreading word and she's opening people's eyes. And I think having someone who was so conservative saying things that a lot of the liberals have been saying for a long time is opening up a lot of people's minds. If this is what it is and this is what it has to be, then it's what it has to be. Basically, she's saying a lot about, at the end of Charlie Kirk's life, he was opening his mind to what is everything that is happening in Gaza is literally a genocide. It is not right. It is evil. Everything that's happening is evil. These are demons and devils in disguises. He was saying that. Now, that is something I agree with Charlie Kirk saying. It just goes to show, like, you cannot be a sheep. People's opinions and perspectives are always shifting. You also have to, as a collective and a community, this goes for both sides, we have to start checking people. Just because you see someone talking up on a stand, or you see a TikTok on your phone and it's someone speaking very, very fluently, with a lot of power, very confidently, doesn't mean that what they're saying is correct. We have to start fact checking these people, okay? I've worked in sales for a very long time, and you can be a good talker and be manipulative, okay? You can be a good talker and talk about nothing and sell people on something. You can be a good talker and be talking with nothing of substance and still influence people into agreeing with what the fuck you're saying. You could be talking about nothing, but just because you're a good talker, you're holding influence. We need to wake up to that. We need to start fact checking people. There's way too much coming out that's wrong. And it is not a conservative versus liberal thing. This is not a red versus blue thing. This is not a religion versus a one religion thing. This is not a white versus black thing. This is not a straight versus gay thing. This is a them wanting hatred among us thing, and we need to start opening our fucking eyes. Now, that doesn't go to show that I am going to disregard all of that, right? There are people's true colors that are coming out. People coming out of the woodworks that are showing a little bit of homophobia, a little bit of fucking racism. That's kind of like, what the hell? Noted. All right. Noted. I think what we should do right now, noted. Okay. The Satanists, like what I said, they're harvesting on our low frequency right now, our feeling of anger, defensiveness, sadness, depression. They're harvesting on it. Try not to fight so much with other people. The most you can do is educate people. This is what I'm hoping that I'm doing right now, just educating a little bit. And I'm not a know-it-all, but intuitively, I know everything that is happening right now is not fucking right. I also view things through an astrological lens. So I can view things from a bird's eye view that is separate of religion, that is separate of politics, that is kind of what's happening on an energetic level. They want a civil war to happen. And this can go one of two ways, right? A civil war can happen, or it can be power of the people versus overthrowing the fucking evil. And that is the movement that I want to happen for us. We need to come together right now and not be fighting each other so much. We need to come together and get down to the bottom of what the fuck the truth is. We have been lied to for too long. We have been treated like puppets for too long. This isn't what this country is about. It is disgusting. Charlie Kirk never ran for office. He never had an official government position. He wasn't a politician. He wasn't a god. He wasn't a priest. He was just someone with a big mouth and an inflated ego. At the beginning of his career, I feel like he was saying better things than towards the end. I really think somewhere in the midst of Charlie Kirk's career, people were eating his ass and sucking his dick way too much that he was thriving off of division and almost rage baiting in a way. And that is dangerous. And that is why I was not a big supporter of Charlie Kirk, because whatever, if you think he wasn't racist, if you think he wasn't homophobic, the people he was preaching to, a lot of them were crazy. And if you're in a position of power, spreading God's word, spreading peace, love, and unity, if you are truly a spiritual person, you should not be condemning and supporting these hateful people. You are creating fucking fans of hatred, and someone who is truly in a spiritual high power would not want that. But he was getting his dick sucked, so he liked it. I think that is just a human flaw, because like when I said, Charlie Kirk was not a god. That is something that I also don't like about mixing church and state religion into politics, because sometimes with religion, it's kind of like we are forcing people to be these perfect people when humans are innately flawed. We need to start coming together and loving each other for our flaws and teaching each other how to help each other work through these flaws, instead of being like, you need to be perfect and follow these rules and follow these commandments, and if you're not, you're going to hell. Because, bro, you've pointed one finger at me, there's 4 pointing back, baby, all right? No one is perfect. So how about we start accepting that and coming together and loving each other through it, instead of throwing hate on other people, especially things that you don't understand. Going back to Candace Owens, I think the fact that she doesn't believe all this and how she is going back and supporting Israel, she's seeing what the true evil is, that there's an ethnic cleansing happening in Gaza, and that the top 1% are crazy people and evil. She literally has been saying in her most recent podcast episodes that she was like, I can't believe I ever supported Israel. Another example of we cannot be praising these people with big mouths. Even they are going back on their own word. We have to start doing our own research. We have to start forming our own fucking opinions. I am glad that she is opening up her mind and seeing the evil that is happening. A lot of the liberals have been saying that. But if it has to take someone like her to open her mind and hop on a platform and start spreading her point of views to help other people, then it is what it is. And this is another thing. This is why I'm starting to agree more with Candace Owens, because now she is starting to have more than one perspective. This is another thing, right? I will not look up to anyone who has only ever had one perspective. You know who someone I'm going to look up to? Someone who's educated themselves on all different religions. Someone who's a world traveler, who's been all over the place, learned about different spiritual beliefs, different ways of living, different upbringings, who's had different types of upbringing experiences, who has people of diversity surrounding them, who has different life experiences underneath their belts, who's open-minded, who's dabbled in other religions, who studied things like psychology, anthropology, sociology, philosophy, medicine, Western and Eastern medicine. These are the types of people that I will look up to and take advice from. not someone who's just grew up in a church and only knows what they know. We need to stop praising average people with only one perspective of life. Start listening to the educated people. And you know, the most spiritual people aren't going to hop on a fucking platform and allowing people to blow smoke up their ass, all right? I've dabbled in a lot of different spiritual communities. I've learned a lot about a lot of different religions throughout since I was in college. The most spiritual people I know aren't cocky. And people who are cocky are people who are doing it for the wrong reasons. People who allow people to blow smoke up their ass and spew judgments and division are in spirituality and certain religions for the wrong reason. I've seen it on a big scale and I've seen it on a small scale. I've walked into certain spiritual communities, felt the judgment. I saw clickiness, saw greed. Everything, the plot has been lost. The plot has been fucking lost in this country and with religion. Yeah, I don't know, guys. I guess I really just wanted to hop on here and say they want us divided. We can't stay divided. That is my biggest message. They want us divided. We cannot stay divided. We need to come together. We need to continue using our voice. We need to support people who are losing their platforms for speaking up. We need to support each other. We need to support small businesses. We need to start raising awareness. We need to start being involved in our community. We need to keep protesting. We need to keep each other aware. We need to not fall for the hatred propaganda. We need to not stay divided and hateful. We need to try to remember compromise and peace and unity. We're about to walk into Libra season, okay? Libra is all about the scales, keeping balance and harmony. Mercury, the planet of communication, has also just entered Libra as well. Going to be here until October 6th. Keeping the peace and finding compromise within conversations and perspectives and connecting with others is very important during this time. So we need to remember that. We need to start agreeing to disagree, start compromising, and getting on the same page about the people versus the top 1%. That's what it is, all right? They want the rich to get richer and the poor to get poorer. They want us to keep us enslaved and entrapped physically and mentally. And we need to start waking up to it. I feel very mixed emotions on this. It makes me want to run away from this country, but it also makes me want to fight. Like, a stubborn part of me makes me not want to give up on this country, but a big part of me makes me want to run away when I think about my future family. I had an instance last weekend when I was at work. I'm a bartender. I work in nightlife. I bartend and I do bottle service. Last weekend I was bartending and a guy walked in with a gun. I work in Fort Lauderdale. Now, I don't know much about guns, but I know a lot about bars. And it is illegal to bring a gun into a bar. And it is also illegal to be drinking alcohol with your weapon on you. This guy has been sitting at the bar, sitting and standing at my bar top for around like maybe 45 minutes at this point. He's drinking pretty fast. He's probably like 3 or 4 drinks deep. My coworker comes up to me and he said, I think that guy has a gun around his waistband. Like, is it? You have a better view. I looked, I was like, yeah, gun. I was scared as fuck. I was so scared. The anxiety that filled my body, I haven't felt anxiety like this in such a long time. I was paralyzed. I saw black. I could not see. That's how anxious I was. Because another thought that was going through my brain, obviously it was only a couple days after everything that happened with school shooting and Charlie Kirk. I also had a weird gut feeling about this guy. He looked a little off. You know, me and my coworker, we crack jokes. We go back and forth. And I just cracked a joke about how I was gay in front of this man. And he looked crazy. He looked like the type of guy that would not like a gay woman serving him, you know what I mean? So I was just scared as shit. I had all these thoughts going through my brain, like, is this it? You can't have a gun here, so you obviously snuck it in. Why did you sneak it in? I'm not trying to find out the reason. The thoughts that were going through my head, I was like, I'm about to not go home to my dog. My mom is about to get a really bad phone call. And where the fuck do I live? This is what I'm experiencing. So I closed out my last guest. I ran to my manager. I said, that guy has a gun on him. I ran to the back. I said, I'm not coming out until the man is gone. I do not give a fuck. I was so scared. I ran to the back. I started crying. I probably was crying for around like 15 minutes. I like could not keep my composure just because I was so scared. It was definitely like a sensitive topic because of everything that's happening in this country right now. And, you know, there's shootings happening like literally fucking every single week. It's crazy. But since that moment that I literally thought I was going to die, nothing happened, thank God. The guy left, even though he was sus. He wouldn't admit they had a weapon on him. My manager had to be like, I literally has been watching you and you do have a weapon on you. Why are you just admit to it? Yeah, no, I've been like very just contemplating if I want to live in this country. I hate that feeling. I hate this feeling of fear and this feeling of feeling like I always have to be on defense, because that's exactly the types of emotions that the evil want us to feel. So it's conflicting, right? I just do not want to live in a country where my kids are walking around and they see guns on people's waistbands. That's just not what I want. And I don't want people to feel like they have to live like that too. Like, I know that it is an amendment, like a right to bear arms or whatever. This is a different rabbit hole, a spiral down of how I feel about guns, but I don't want to live in a country where people feel like they need to walk around with their fucking gun on their waistband because they don't feel safe walking around in their fucking homeland. That is not how we should be living as human beings. We need to wake up to that as well. Come on, let's get it together. That is not okay. That is living in a lower frequency. If you are living with anger, fear, guilt, shame, depression, you are vibrating on the lowest of the low frequencies, on the worst frequencies. You're going to bring that into your life. Why would you want to live like that anyway? Don't you want to live more happy, carefree, free-spirited, open-minded, optimistic? This was just a message that I felt inclined to spread, to remember not to stay divided, that we need to come together and open our minds, demand for the truth. Educate yourselves. Don't fall for propaganda and don't fall for a fucking salesman. All right? That's what a lot of these people are, salesmen in disguise of politicians, in disguise of fucking religious people. Like, these people are salesmen. Stay educated, stay woke, stay together. We need to conquer this. If you truly love this country, we need to come together and reclaim it. I love you guys, and I hope you guys are staying safe. Pluto and Aquarius, power to the people, all right? This is a big theme. I have been saying it for the past couple years. It's going to be a huge theme until 2038. This is when Pluto's in Aquarius. Pluto rules societies of people. Aquarius is all about the collective, activism, power to the people, all right? Love you guys. Stay safe. And I'll see you next week.